music is vital to developing their other abilities, and our next guest invention can help. Cathy Schane-Lydon is the woman behind Toccata Blocks, and she's here to tell us more. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm really pleased to be here.
I'm a musical novice. I love to listen to music. Can't do a lick of it myself. So these Toccata Blocks, they're aimed at helping children primarily, also people like me.
Anybody who wants to learn, actually, that would be due.
Yeah, to learn how to create music. So teach us how this invention works.
Okay, well what this is are proportionally shaped tiles. So, for instance, this is a quarter note, and it gets one beat. Well, if you show it up next to a half note, how many beats do you think that has?
A half note gets 2 beats.
Well, there you go, because it's twice as wide.
Okay. This is easy.
And so, therefore, you have...
So is that a whole note?
That's a whole note, and how many beats do you think it might get?
2 half notes.
So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, this is a lot easier than I thought it was.
Oh, see, there you go. So what I do is I first introduce them to very small children. I teach 3 1/2s up. So what they do is they make castles. La, 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 we're making castles. And then I say, well, who's got the whole note? How many beats does that get?
So you're teaching while you're playing, and it's a movement thing, and it's got all the kind of the brain firing at once.
Exactly, because they're tactile. I mean, they're really, really smooth and fun to touch, and also it's visual, so you can see exactly how many beats there are. And then when you listen to it, when you actually put together little lines, you know, say for instance, you know, here you go. You know, you'd count it out. 1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2.
I get it.
So there you go. On the opposite side are the rest values, because just as much as that you need times that have music playing, you also have to have the times that there's silence. So each one has the specific rest value with it as well.
See, this makes a lot of sense, because oftentimes when learning is too enveloped in theory and books. So especially for children, when you're reading all these texts and you're trying to learn about music through a book, you can't do it.
It's a little bit, it's harder for them to comprehend, whereas this makes it really, really simple.
How'd you come up with the idea for Toccata Blocks?
Well, actually, a long, long time ago, I was doing some online lessons, and I wanted something really concrete to move around. So I made a prototype out of oak stair tread that I purchased from Home Depot. And I took it out to my garage, and I used the saw, and I put on vinyl stickers, and I used it with a child who was learning disabled, actually, and he wasn't having much success in school, but he loved his piano lessons, and he would come back, and he would come storming back into his classroom after his lesson, and his teacher came up to me and says, "What are you doing with this child?" And I showed her my crazy large oak stair tread Toccata Blocks, and she said, "This is great, you got to do something with it."
So do you think the difference, what really sets you apart, is the tactileness of it all?
Yeah, it's very physical. It's tactile and visual, and it appeals to all sorts of different kinds of learners.
Now, what is it about music that is just so universal? Because they say if you can teach people music, the rest of the world kind of opens up to them.
Exactly. Well, if you wanted to get really physiological about it, music is in a place in the brain that's very primal. So that if you awaken that part, it awakens a whole bunch of other things. But also, I mean, as you can see, this is very mathematical. You know, it makes total sense. You know, I have this. This is a bass, and this bass is color-coded with its time signature.
And a time signature is something that is very complex for a novice and for someone who doesn't kind of have it to touch.
Exactly. But if you look at this, you can see precisely that it will fit 4 beats in that measure, because it's a 4/4 bar.
And so that's the 4/4 time signature. You can fit 4 beats in one measure.
Exactly, and you cannot fit more or less, because that's the way it is.
See, music really is great because it awakes the mathematician inside you. It awakes the artist inside you. So even if you don't want your child to be the next Mozart or David Lee Roth or what have you, it's important that you teach him or her something about music.
Absolutely. There's actually probably no place on this earth where you can go where you can escape music.
That's true.
Actually, I mean, you get in your car, you turn on some music. You have music when you go to a restaurant. You have music that's the background music. You have theme music for this show.
Exactly.
Everything.
Elevator music. Yeah, you're right. You can't avoid it.
Yeah, you go shopping. Gotta hum a tune.
Now, let's say everybody out there, they're pretty impressed with this and they want to get some Toccata blocks for their child or someone else's child. How do they go about getting the blocks?
Just go to my website, toccatablocks.com.
Easy enough. And it's one of those things you can give as a gift. What are the age ranges, would you say?
I recommend them for 4 up. Because what's nice about this is it grows with the child. I mean, initially it's very, very, very simple. But then once you start adding in things like syncopation, you start adding in the meter. I have a rhythm challenge CD on there so that they can listen to rhythms and then transcribe them with the Toccata blocks.
So there's some complexity in here. It's not just for small children.
Exactly.
And this toy is actually getting a lot of big buzz too.
Well, we're trying. We were just at the International Toy Fair in New York City. I saw on the Today Show they had other people from the Toy Fair and they didn't have me.
Well, today Mass Appeal, tomorrow the Toy Show. How's that sound?
That's it.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very
Toccata
much.
Blocks. I think I actually learned something about music today.
That'd be
I had
great.
no idea I'd do that. And if you want to get your kids Toccata Blocks, you can always visit toccatablocks.com. Still ahead on